Hi, everyone. My name is Marguerite Connors, and I'm the Student Success Manager here at Cochise College. And my session today is a short session on netiquette. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of those guidelines and manners that we use in the classroom when we're attending live streaming sessions or we're in a virtual environment, just to give you some better practices if you're unfamiliar with that kind of learning environment. As you know, starting in the spring and now most of our classes are live streaming or virtual, and this creates a very different experience, both from the instructor side and as from the student side, in how we learn and how we interact with each other. And I know for myself personally, it's taken a little getting used to, and I'm still learning as we go along. The college, for that reason, has made a great video on netiquette, or again, the manners that come with being in an online format. And we're going to show it to you in a minute, but I wanted to touch on a few factors that you might want to have some consideration for as you start taking classes in a live streaming or a virtual format. The first one is your environment. So I had to clean up my office. I took a painting and hung it a little lower so it would look a little bit more like a professional environment. And when you're logging on, it's just a good reminder that we can see what's ever in your background environment, whether it's your bedroom, living room. If you're on your telephone, we can see wherever you are at that moment. And I've been able to see some wonderful pets that people have had, dogs and cats going across the keyboard, and that's been a lot of fun. But it's just kind of a reminder that your world is now coming into our world from an instructor's perspective, and also everybody that you're sharing a screen with in your class sees that. The other thing is appearances. And while Zoom is very tempting because it's a very casual environment and there's nothing wrong with wearing casual clothes and participating in class, that's one of the benefits of learning online, I think. But it's just something to remember as you get ready for the day. It's like being involved in the classroom on a different level, thinking about the way that you look, or are you presentable if your camera feed is on. It's that simple. How do you want to interface in your class, and how do you want to look? I think that for students, it's a good reminder that Zoom netiquette and getting really used to interacting with people in a Zoom format is something that you'll use in the future. In fact, at the college, the way that we interview many of our applicants is through Zoom. Our first interaction with them is having them log on, and a screening committee sits and meets them through the Zoom format. And we get to see what they look like, where they're at, and how they interact with us. And so these are transferable skills that you'll be able to take with you well outside the classroom as you go and enter the workforce. And so I think in that sense, this is very good practice, and maybe a benefit of the live streaming format for students. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is the camera, where you place it and how you look into it. One thing I read is that communication is 70% body language and how we interact with others. It's those nuances of our emotions and how engaged and present or mindful we are in a class. And your instructor is, if they're like me, they're probably really nervous, and they want to make sure that you're understanding what they're sharing with you. And the only way that they can do that is maybe by a nod, or if you're looking perplexed, they might ask you if you have any questions, or take a pause in the class and just try to engage with you. So looking actually at the camera is very helpful, and having the camera on, that's something that the video will touch on, but just making sure that your camera is on when you come into the classroom is really a nice practice to have. The last thing I wanted to mention before we see the video is a function of Zoom that maybe you've experienced already, and that's the chat box. And so it's so great that you can post questions and make funny comments and add emojis and do different things in a chat box. But I'd like to point out that one thing I didn't realize is that many people record the sessions, the Zoom sessions, like this session is being recorded. And so if you were to type something in the chat box, or even privately, let's say you know each other in the class and you're typing something privately, that's recorded and that your instructor will have access to that. So it's just something to think about. It's different than texting somebody you know and saying something privately in that way. And I wasn't aware of it, so I feel like students should realize that many of the sessions are being recorded, and there's no way that you know that. It's something that we set up beforehand. So we're going to watch this very short video on netiquette. I think the college did a great job producing this. And then afterwards, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Cochise College Netiquette, Rocking Virtual Class Space, Tips for Pleasant Zooming. When you came to Cochise College, you were already part of personal, family, social, and other networks. Now, your network is expanding to include our college, your discipline, and academia. Each of these groups has a different set of spoken and unspoken rules and expectations, or etiquette, that keeps things running smoothly. The way we behave in online communities is called netiquette. Cochise College Zoom classrooms are online communities with group values and norms. Here are some important ones. Enter online class space like you're speed dating. Greet people, introduce yourself when you speak, show interest in others' stories, ask follow-up questions, and be open to new people and ideas. RESPECT, find out what it means to them. Address people by their preferred titles, such as professor, doctor, preferred pronouns, names, nicknames, etc. Interact with others in a professional manner. Don't yell at your classmates. Using all caps is like yelling at your classmates. Skip the out loud cussing and save the flaming for s'mores making. Zoom chat is a great interactional space, but save private chatting for Facebook and dating apps. Private chatting in Zoom classes is like whispering and giggling in face-to-face settings. Keep your convos on the up and up. Remember, Mama said it's rude to interrupt people. Use Zoom screen response functions to raise your hand, give thumbs up, and request presenter to slow down or speed up. Avoid being a creepy lurker. Going incognito by not using your webcam, it's like showing up to a party with a bag over your head. It's weird. Show your beautiful face in Cochise cyberspace. That said, it's possible to show us too much, like your dirty clothes strewn on the floor, those dishes piled up in the sink, your streaking roommate. What? Look, we all have them, but trust us, just no. That's what virtual backgrounds are for. Remember to mute your microphone when entering the Zoom room, or risk broadcasting every single embarrassing sound while being recorded for playback to your asynchronous peers. Speaking of asynchronicity, written e-communication can sound like robot speak to the person on the other side. Emoticons inject a human touch and give clues to intended tone. Extra attention to tone is helpful because cyberspace is a tone-sucking black hole where negativity tends to fill the void. Be a shining star of intentional, positive communication. Help us create pleasant and productive learning spaces in Cochise College Zoom classrooms. And if all else fails, just remember this. If you wouldn't do it with your grandma in the room, you probably shouldn't do it in a Cochise College Zoom.
Great. I think they did a good job on that video. If you don't have any other questions, then I think we're done, but I really appreciate you attending this session. And later today, in a few minutes, our next one's going to be about free tutoring, so I hope you can attend that as well.